Good morning, grade 9s. Today, our presentation will be focused on the theme of decision making. We will be looking at two visual texts, a poem by Robert Frost and an advertisement by R.R. Freshmarts. And I chose this theme because I think it is very important right now for your grade, because next year in grade 10 you have to make the most important decision, which is choosing your subjects. So I thought we should just focus on something that's very relatable to you right now. Okay, next we will be looking at CAPS, what CAPS says about teaching literature. CAPS says that it is essential for us to do a pre-reading of the text, a reading, and a post-reading. So pre-reading would just be you familiarizing yourself with the text, and then reading would be you actually analyzing the text, knowing more about the text, understanding the text better, and then the post-reading would be activities. We will be doing a group activity and a individual activity at the end of this presentation. CAPS also mentions that it's very important to look at the theme, comment on the theme, see if the theme relates to your life, and make judgments on the theme. Like I said, I believe that the theme of decision making is very important and very essential for you at this point in your life, because next year you are going to make the decision of choosing subjects, and this will have a domino effect in the rest of your life decisions. So this is how what subjects you're going to take, obviously, in grade 10, and these subjects will determine what you study in varsity and so on and so forth. And then we'll also be looking at figures of speech, such as similes, metaphors, personifications, the irony, the meaning, the imagery of the poem or the advertisement. Yes. We'll also be looking at the communicative language approach, which is very important when you are learning English. It's very important to have a great exposure to the target language, which would be English. The only way to learn a language is to get exposed to it continuously and practice and produce the language. And you can do this by talking to other people, reading books. For example, in this lesson, we will be doing a group activity which will help you practice and produce the language, because you will have to interact with the rest of your classmates, and then you'll be doing an individual activity just to see if you understand the work and the language and how well you are doing by yourself. So we will be applying our language skills by using group work, which is classified as interpersonal, and by using individual work, which is intrapersonal. Okay, so now we're going to move into our theme, which is decision making. So right now I have this picture here, and it's an individual at a crossroad. They don't know which road to take. They can't really tell what's ahead of the road. And you will see this in not just in school, not just in the subjects that you're going to choose. Yes, you can choose mathematics and physics, and you may think that it's going to lead you down this path, but you don't really know what's in front. Or you can choose history and biology, and you might think that it's going to lead you at a specific point, but you never know. You have to actually go down that road. And we can see in this picture, this person is very confused. They have no way of seeing which is the right road. They can't tell which is the better road, which is the road that's best for them. And you can see them scratching their head in confusion. Then the next picture is just something similar. It's just that it's in the woods, also at a crossroad where they have to decide which road to take, and the roads are quite similar, just as the first picture. There's no indication of which is the best road to take. So right now we're just going to listen to this poem by Robert Frost. The title of the poem is The Road Not Taken. And then we're going to look at our advertisement. And then we're going to then go into an analysis of both.
Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveler long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had warned them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay, and leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Two roads diverge.
Okay, so that is the poem. Right now we're just going to look at the advertisement. So this is an advertisement by RR Fresh Marts, which is a fruit and vegetables supermarket. And as you can see from this picture, they are advertising a healthier way of life. On one side we have the burger, the chips, the pizza, and it's very colorful. And then on the other road we have the fruits, the vegetables, the apples, the broccoli, the spinach. And the advert says, everything in life can't be controlled, but what goes into our body can be. Eat fresh and stay healthy. And we have this man in the middle of the road, and he's just questioning himself, where should I go? So right now let's go into the analysis of the advert. The advert is by RR Fresh Mart. It's a fruit and vegetable supermarket. And the purpose of any advert is to persuade you to do something. So in this advert, RR Fresh Mart is persuading the viewer or the consumer to choose the healthier route. And you can see that on the right side, which is the fruits and the vegetables, there's a correct tick. And then on the left side, which is the food, the pizza, the chips, fast food, there's a cross. So he's telling you that this is the wrong way and this is the right way. And he persuades people by saying, eat healthier, eat fresh, and stay healthy. And this is what you would call manipulative language, because you need a balanced, we all know you need a balanced diet to be considered as healthy. You can't just eat fruits and vegetables all the time. You do need your carbohydrates and such, which can be found in potatoes, which can be found in fries. But for the purpose of this advert, they are promoting fruits and vegetables. And there's a color contrast between the vegetables and the fast food. The fast food is very colorful, whereas the vegetables are just very boring color. And I think this color contrast is to get the attention of the viewers. I mean, if you were to see this advert anyway, you would instantly pay attention. And he uses the RR Fresh Mods, just referring to them as he. They use genre elements such as questioning the audience, dramatic statements, personal pronouns. They use personal pronouns to make this personal to you by saying what goes into our body. So they're directly speaking to you. They want to make it about yourself. So you sit and question yourself. And the dramatic statements are eat fresh, stay healthy. There is no certainty that if you eat vegetables and fruit that you will stay healthy. They're also questioning the audience in a sense. There isn't a question per se in the advert, but you will question yourself after looking at this advert, where you ask yourself, do I want to buy takeaways? Do I want to be unhealthy? Do I want to take this road? Do I want to take the unhealthy route? Or do I want to stay more healthy and do better for myself? Because it does allude to the fact that eating healthy has better benefits. So eating green things, the vegetables and the fruits, has better health benefits. It's also very manipulative. They're using a lot of manipulative language. One can persuade the audience by using AIDA, which is AIDA, and we're just going to look at how this advert used it. So A stands for attracting, I stands for interest, D stands for desire, and A stands for action. So how did this advert attract the viewer? I would say that they attracted the viewer with their slogan and their picture. It's very catchy, it's very interesting, it makes you question yourself, and the picture is quite bright, the contrast between the two food types. And then how did it arouse the interest of the viewers? I think it aroused the interest of the viewer by, number one, the colorful pictures, and secondly, the audience desire for food. I mean, everybody loves food. Everybody loves fast food, especially. So if you see an advert about fast food, you're going to be interested and want to know more about it. And then they created desire by mentioning the eating greens has benefits. Yeah, they did actually mention that. They alluded to the fact that greens have more and better benefits. So if you eat fresh, you stay healthy. And then the action is that they want the viewer or the man in the picture to walk into the right direction, to choose the healthier part. As you can see him, he's in the middle of the road and he has question marks and he's wondering and trying to decide which road am I taking. And this advert is very similar to the poem in a sense that both people in the text are confused. They need to make a decision. They're standing in the middle of the road and they're deciding. They're trying to decide. They're trying to come up with a decision on which road to take. Should I go this road or should I take this road? And that's how these two texts are very similar. So now we're going to do an advert activity. I did mention this at the beginning of the lesson, that we will be doing a group activity and individual activity. We're going to start off with the group activity. And activities are very important because they help our brains think, recall, remember, pay attention, and learn. So we're going to see if you learned anything from what we just did. So please divide into groups, and we will be working on your interpersonal skills. And use the advert to answer the questions. The first question would be, how would you compare the different roads? And this is going to just show your understanding. See if you understand the text very well. Second question is, what kind of language is being used in the advert? So we're going to be testing your application skills here. Thirdly, how is the slogan connected to the message of the advert? This will be focused on your analysis skills. How would you grade the advertisement on the use of AIDA? So we'll be focused on your evaluation skills. And the last one, how would you elaborate on the reason of choosing the fruits and vegetables path? Okay, so you can do this as a group, and when we're done, we're just going to look at our poem and then do an individual activity at the end of the lesson, okay? Okay, so now we can move on to our poem. I'm just going to play this poem and then we will go into it. So we did a pre-reading of the poem. So now we're reading the poem again. So you can just read the words on the screen.
The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveller. Long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other, as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and I took the less travelled by. And that has made all the difference. The Road Not Taken by...
Okay, so I'm just gonna describe what the poem is about before we go deeper into it. The poem is about an individual who's at a crossroad and he has to make a decision on which road to take. And he is not quite sure because both roads look the same. And he can't see what is at the end of the road because it bends into the undergrowth. So this means that he can't see too far into the road or far ahead of the road. And then he finally decides to take one road. And he takes this road because it was grassy and wanted wear, meaning that it looked just a little better and it was calling onto him. And I think this calls onto, or this describes the temptation that we as people have. We will always go the way in which we want to go. So let me make an example, a practical example. If you know that choosing history and choosing accounting, for example, will lead you in a better way. But you are someone who loves physics and geography, just choosing random subjects. Even though you might know that this road of history and accounting is going to lead you to a better road, you will still take the one that you prefer, the one that you love, the one that's calling onto you. And I think that's what the poem alludes to by saying that it wanted way and it looked more grassy. But he says that really both roads really just look the same. There's not much of a difference in them. And he chooses this one road, but the tone of the poem is very as if he's very regretful, because he does say things like sorry, and he wishes he could be one traveler. And he says that maybe at some point he'll come back and take the other road and see where it leads him. But also he knows this is very much futile and not really realistic, because once you are on this path, you stay on that path. You can't go back and then change your mind. Once you make a decision and you have regrets, you have to stay with those regrets and see where they lead you. You can't go back in time and change your decision. So that's what this poem is about. It's about decision making. We're focused on the theme of decision making. So now we're just going to look a bit more deeper into the poem. Like I said, the theme is about decision making. The poem has 5 verses, 4 stanzas, and 20 lines. And now we're going to just go into more detail about the theme. Okay, so the theme is decision making and regret. I would say decision making and regret because the reason why people are so scared to make decisions is because they are afraid of having regrets. So we can see this with him saying sorry in line 2. He says, before he even decides which road he's going to take, he says, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. And as people, we go through a lot of circumstances in our life where we have to make a decision and choose between 2 or more paths in life. And then we can look at the diction, the words that he describes and the words that he uses in the poem to describe. Can look at, I think, the diction and the imagery together. So he says 2 roads diverged into a yellow wood. So he describes that he's in the woods and there are 2 roads and both of them diverge into the woods and he cannot see. And the yellow wood describes the season that he is in. That would be autumn. He further describes the road that it bent into the undergrowth, meaning that he cannot see what is ahead of the road. And he also says that the roads look more or less the same. Grasses cover them both, and that one is less traveled than the other, and that's the one he chose. And on the other road there are black leaves, while the other one there are no leaves on the way. So he chose the one that he desired the most. And then we're going to go into the tone and the mood. He's not very confident. There is a lot of confusion. We can understand the tone and the mood of the poem by looking at the words that have emotions associated with them. Such words such as sorry in line 2, this shows regret. It shows that he's not very confident in the decision that he's making. He also feels sorry for himself, that he cannot travel both roads and be one traveler. Another word we can look at is that he long I stood in line 3, which emphasizes that it's taking him quite a while to decide. It's he's not quite sure, he's confused, he's indecisive. And this again emphasizes our theme. We've already went into the imagery, which is the yellow wood and the color of autumn. So now we're going to just look at our figures of speech such as simile, metaphor, irony, repetition, and see what the poem has. We have alliteration, which is wanted where. We have repetition, which is used to describe. Repetition is usually used to emphasize something. So in the poem we have ages and ages, which emphasizes how life will continue, will always continue and go forward. And then we have a metaphor. The title of the poem, The Road Not Taken, is a metaphor. The road not taken is a metaphor for the choices that we make. And then in the last stanza we have here, the road less traveled by is also a metaphor. It refers to the choices that are less preferred by people, by humans. Okay, so now we're just going to look at our poem activity. This is the individual activity I was telling you about, which will be focused on intrapersonal. So read through the poem and answer the following questions. What is the theme of the poem? How can you describe the similarities between the advert and the poem? What examples can you find of figures of speech in the poem? We just went through a few right now. So it is up to you to look at more, find more, describe, emphasize how they connected to the poem, emphasize or explain rather how they are emphasizing the theme. How would you explain the tone and the mood of the poem? How is the poem relevant